everyone, I hope you guys are having a great day. My name is Kimberly Brown and I'm going to be your instructor this semester. So to tell you guys a little bit about myself, I have a master's degree in clinical psychology from Mississippi State, and I have been teaching there since my last year of graduate school. Now, clinical psychology is really focusing on diagnosing and treating psychological disorders, and so I thought that I was going to be a clinician for the rest of my life. But during my last year of grad school, I actually had an opportunity. They were looking for a graduate student to teach a section of general psychology, and I jumped at that chance. I thought it would be a lot of fun until the night before the semester started, when I realized that I was terrified of public speaking, which really wasn't the right time to realize that. I should have thought about that earlier, but I'm glad that I didn't, because it worked out in the end. But I really didn't sleep well that night. I got up the next morning, consumed a lot of caffeine, and then I went in and taught what I'm sure was a very mediocre at best lecture. And it went on like that for a couple of weeks. But after a few weeks, I realized that I wasn't scared anymore, that I was actually enjoying teaching. And so I feel really blessed to be able to do something that I love for a living. And so I have been teaching now. This is my 4th year teaching. I teach at Mississippi State as well as at Mississippi University for Women, obviously. I started teaching at MUW last spring. And so I am really excited to be teaching you guys this semester. I do love teaching, and I hope that that comes through in all that I do, right? Other things to tell you guys about myself: I am married. My husband Michael and I have been married for 6 years, and we have 2 adorable children. At some point I will show you how cute they are. I'll have to put up a picture. But my son Christian is 5, and my daughter Maddie is 3. And I tell you guys about my kids for a few reasons. First of all, because they're adorable, and I promise I'll prove it. Also because as we talk about social psychology, there will be some concepts that I might have some examples related to my kids. But also because my daughter Maddie has a medical condition that causes her to have seizures. And so there's always a possibility that at some point I might have to leave town if I have to take her to see her neurologist. I don't anticipate that happening. She's just had some checkups, and so we should be fine for a while, but I just wanted to let you guys know about that in case it should happen. If it does, I'll let you know. Other things to tell you guys about myself: I am a Christian, and that's not something that I'm going to talk about much during lecture, but it is something that I wanted you to know because it's an important part of who I am. Also, I am a huge sports fan. I love NFL, college football, fantasy football, all football. I watch a lot of the Food Network, right? So Cutthroat Kitchen, personal favorite, all that, Worst Cooks in America, right? It's very good. And so, other things about myself: I am a huge caffeine addict, as I kind of alluded to earlier, so you may see me with some caffeine. I'm working on it, I promise. So I'll always try to consume at least a little bit of caffeine before I teach. It's kind of neglectful for me not to do that. So that's probably enough about me. You'll learn more about me during the semester. I really hope to get to know you guys, and I know that I looked at the class roster. A lot of you have had the opportunity to teach before, but I'm really excited to get to know everyone. Please feel free to come by during my office hours. I hope to meet you guys. That's the hard part about online classes, is that I don't get a lot of FaceTime with you, but hopefully I will get to meet you all throughout the semester and learn some more about you as well. Other things to tell you. Oh, by the way, just so you know, I homeschool my kids. That's why there is a ABC under the water fish poster on the wall. Just felt like I should explain that. Good. So yeah, this class in particular is a fun one to teach. I love teaching social psychology because, as I said, my background is in clinical psychology, and not everyone gets to experience depression, right, or anxiety. Not everyone experiences what it's like to have ADHD. However, everyone knows what it's like to experience the things we're going to talk about in this class. We all understand love and attraction. We understand conformity and fads. We're going to talk about obedience and all these things that are really important to everyone. And so I feel like this class is very relevant to a lot of people, and plus there's a lot of really fun, really interesting research and discussion topics in this class, and so I really look forward to teaching it every time. So before I get into the syllabus, which I am going to today talk about the syllabus and have a short lecture video, I do want to tell you a little bit about my teaching style. And so there are 2 things above all else that I try to be, and the first is fair and the second is interactive. So what I mean by fair is that I'm going to try to make sure that every student in the class has the same opportunities. Right now, on day 1, every person in the class could make an A, right? And I always wondered what would happen if I had every student in the class make an A. Like, would I get promoted or fired? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. We could debate that another day. But anyway, every person in the class will have an opportunity to make an A. when I say that I want to be fair, it means that my assignments will be challenging, but I'll give you everything that you need to be successful. So we're going to have practice exams and study guides, and we'll have review videos and lecture videos, and I'll be available to answer your questions. And so I'm going to give you everything that you need to be successful. But also, when I say that I want to be fair, it means that I'm going to give every student the same opportunities. So every semester I have students who come to me at the end of the class, like after the final exam, and want me to change their grade. And I want to say on the first day of class that I'm not going to do that, right? Because it's not fair. Let's say I have two students. I have one student who's a couple points away from a certain grade. I have another student in the same situation. The first student emails me and begs me to change their grade and give them those points, and I do, but I don't give those points to the other student. Is that fair? Obviously not. If you're the other student, you're not happy, right? So I'm not going to make any special exceptions at the end of the semester. So what that means is that if you have a question or a concern about your grade, the best time to come to me is early on, right? That's very important. I've been around college for a decade now in some form or fashion, and I can tell you that the secret to success in college is personal responsibility, right? That two students can come to the class with the same level of knowledge, the same level of intelligence, but the level of effort they put in is going to be the determination between their grades, right? So you have the student who comes to class, who fulfills their responsibility, comes to class, takes notes, pays attention. Of course, in an online class, that means you watch the lecture videos, right? But they put effort into it. You have the other student who doesn't go to class or doesn't watch the lecture videos, doesn't study, doesn't try. At the end of the semester, the student who put in the effort is almost always going to be happy with their grade. The student who didn't put in the effort, very rarely happy with their grade, right? And the difference is personal responsibility. Think about if you had a job and you just stopped going to the job, or you stopped doing a good job. What's going to happen? You're going to get fired, right? In the same way, college is like a job. You're going to have to come and work hard and put in effort, and you really will get out of it what you put into it, right? So you have a personal responsibility in this class. As your instructor, I also have a personal responsibility. My responsibilities are to present the information in a way that makes sense, right? To make sure you have everything you need to succeed, to answer your questions, to be available, to be in my office during office hours. So I want you guys to hold me to my part of the personal responsibility, and I'm going to hold you to your part of the personal responsibility. And the syllabus is really a contract between us, right? So during the semester, if you have questions, the best time to come and talk to me is early on, right? Then I will be able to help you. I can give you some study tips. I can work with you. But students who come to me at the end of the semester are likely to find themselves out of luck, because I'm not going to make an exception for one student that I won't make for everyone else, because I don't think that's fair. So being fair is important. Also, the second thing that's important to me is being interactive. Now, this is very challenging in an online class, but I hope to find a way to accomplish this, right? So I like to, in my in-person classes, have a lot of discussion and get a lot of feedback from you guys. So I'm not going to be able to do that as much in an online class, but I will have writing assignments where you get to weigh in on your opinions on something. And I hope that you will come to me with questions or just with comments and come see me in my office or shoot me an email, right? So hopefully I'll get to know you guys some during this semester. So that's a little bit about me, about who I am, about my teaching style, and about the class. Now we're going to talk about the syllabus, and we're also going to do a very brief bit of lecture today. So let's go ahead and get into the syllabus. Alright, so I have the syllabus pulled up here for you guys. So this is Social Psychology Online Class. My name is Kimberly Brown. Hi. I have an office in the Education and Human Sciences building, room 214. And I have office hours on Monday mornings this semester, so I'll be there from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then also by appointment if you can't come during that time. Also, if you can't come during my office hours, you can call me on my office phone during my office hours. That works as well. Also, email is a great way to get in touch with me, so you have my email address here. So my goals for this class, my course objectives are for you guys to understand psychology as a science, always going to talk about research a great deal, but really understanding the way that we influence other people and the way that other people influence us, and to be able to apply some of the things we talk about as well as to think critically. I think really the goal of education is for students to be able to use the information they learn in class in another setting. And so it's really important for me to you guys to be able to take what we learn in lecture and actually use it somewhere else, right? So there is a textbook for this class, and I have readings listed for you guys. The textbook is a good resource for you. The majority of the exams and the assignments will come from lecture video, and so lecture videos are going to be the most important aspect of the class, but the textbook is good if you need extra examples or extra things to help you prepare, to help you take notes, right? Also, of course, this is an online class, so students are required to have access to the internet, right? So I'm going to be posting lecture videos, and so you'll need to be able to watch those, as well as to do all the assignments and exams are going to be online, as you'll see. So after we look at the syllabus, I'm also going to pull up the Canvas website for the course and take a look at how it's set up as well. This is actually my first semester teaching with Canvas, so hopefully it'll go well. So the way the course is going to be set up is that I'm going to be posting lecture videos each week. And it says that I will post these lecture videos on Monday. That means that they will be available at least on Monday. Usually I post them on Saturday or Sunday, and so I try to get them posted early. But they will be posted at least by Monday. And so then you'll have the whole week to watch the videos and to take notes. So I have posted what I call outline slides for you guys, where the slides are posted with some words taken out of them, so that you can either print those and handwrite on them, or you can pull them up on a computer and type to fill those in. And so that way you have to take notes, but you don't have to write down every single thing that I say, right? So you're expected to watch each video in its entirety and to take notes using the slides that are posted, and then also to contact me if you have any questions or comments about the lecture videos, right? So the lecture videos, very important. They'll be available at least on Monday every week. Of course, this is an exception this week because the semester starts on a Wednesday, but starting on Monday, the videos will be there. Okay, so the way that you're going to get a grade in my class, first of all, activities. Now, there were going to be 12 activities during the semester, and I'm going to take your 10 highest activity grades toward your final grade. What that means is that you will get 2 drop grades for activities. So you can do the first 10 activities and then just decide not to do the last 2. Or maybe you don't do well in a particular activity, you can use it as your drop grade. I'm going to automatically drop your 2 lowest activity grades, right? Now, I think the way that it fell out, and we'll look at the schedule again in a second, is that there's an activity most weeks, right? You'll have an activity to do. Now, the activities are short writing assignments. So during the lecture video, I will introduce an essay question, basically, and you'll respond to it in your activity that week. And it's just going to be a short writing assignment. It says that it has to be a minimum of 200 words long, and this is very important. Now, when you guys want to prepare these ahead of time, if you type it up in Microsoft Word, it will tell you how many words you have, right? And so you can kind of use that to help you make sure you've had 200 words. But it's important to make sure you get that limit, because if you have less than 200 words, I can't give you full credit for that, right? And each activity will be worth 10 points. I'm taking your 10 highest activity grades, so that means that there are a total of 100 points available from activities. Okay. Now, the purpose of activities is to give you guys a chance to give me your feedback and your opinion on the topics we're talking about, as well as to practice using the information. This will be helpful for exams if you've thought critically about it and are able to apply it, right? It also gives me some information about how well the class is understanding a particular topic. So activity grades, also the majority of your grade will come from exams. So the way that my classes work is that they're going to be 5 exams, and they'll be worth 100 points each, and I'm going to keep your 4 highest exam grades. What that means is that there will be a total of 400 points available from exams. So at the end of the semester, if you've missed an exam or just not done very well on a particular exam, you can use your drop grade there. Also, if you're happy with your grade after the first 4 exams, you can choose not to take the final exam and use the drop grade as your final exam. A lot of students like to do that. Or you also have the option of completing all 5 exams and just having your lowest exam dropped, okay? But I'm going to automatically drop your lowest exam grade, okay? Now, the way the exams work is that exams 1 through 4 are going to be multiple choice, true, false, and matching questions. They'll be released through Canvas. They'll be available for a week, and so you'll be able to see the schedule when we get down to the bottom. But the way the exams work, for the most part, is that they'll be released on Monday at noon and be available until the next Monday at noon. And you can take the exam at any point during that semester. So you can take the exam at any, or I said semester, I meant week. You can take the exam at any point during that week, right? Now make sure that when you get started taking the exam, you're prepared to finish it in one session, right? So once you start the timer, you'll have 75 minutes to take it, and you have to complete it in one session, okay? So exams 1 through 4 are multiple choice, true, false, and matching. Now, students who attend MUW and take online classes are required to verify their identity. And we'll talk about this more when we get down to the attendance policy, but the way that you will be verifying identity in my class is by taking a proctored exam. So exam 4 will have the same format as exams 1 through 3. The only difference is that it will be password protected, meaning that you will have to take it at an MUW library or another appropriate proctored site so that I can verify your identity, right? And we'll talk more about this at the attendance policy section, okay? So exams 1 through 4 are multiple choice, true, false, and matching. Exam 5 is a take-home essay kind of format where it will be released several days before it is due. You can work on it, save it, come back to it, right, as long as you submit it by the deadline, which is 5 p.m. on May 13th. As long as you turn it in by that deadline, you'll be fine, okay? But I won't be accepting final exams after that time, okay? So I'm going to keep your top 10 activity grades. I'm going to keep your top 4 exam grades. That gives me a total of 500 points possible in the course. And so you will see here the number of points that you need to earn a certain grade. So in my class, to have an A, you need 450 points, right? And I don't round. So if you have 449, that's a B. 450 is an A, okay? So your points will come from activities and exams as well as extra credit, which we'll talk about in a second, right? So anything below 300 points is an F. 300 to 349 is a D, 350 to 399 is a C, 400 to 449 is a B, and anything over 450 is an A, right, or 450 or above, okay? So extra credit. There are a few different ways you can get extra credit. First of all, there is a syllabus quiz that is available now, and this is optional. You don't have to do this, but it could give you 2.5 points of extra credit, so why wouldn't you do it, right? So this is available, and it will be available, I think, for a couple of weeks. So check on that, but make sure you do it before it closes. Also, there will be practice exams. So before each exam is released, there will also be a practice exam. It will have 8 questions that are similar to the kinds of questions that you would see on an exam. So you can take the practice exam to get a little bit of extra credit, but also to see how well you're prepared for the exam, to see what kinds of questions might be on the exam, okay? So the syllabus quiz and the practice exams, there will be 4 practice exams because there's not a practice exam for the final. And then also there will be additional extra credit throughout the semester that will come up. Now this is very important. Students may earn a maximum of 15 extra credit points. Okay, any points that you earn over 15 will not count towards your grade. So every semester I have students who are upset because they earned more than 15 points of extra credit and didn't get credit for those points. So it's right here in the syllabus. Make sure that you're paying attention to the number of extra credit points that you have, because any points over 15 will not count. Okay, there's a cap on extra credit. Alright, so talking about attendance, a couple of important factors here. First of all, MUW requires students to be in attendance for at least 50% of the course. Now this is an online class, so the way that I'm going to take attendance is through the activities. So I'm going to give 12 activities. That means you have to turn in a minimum of 6 activities on time to receive credit for the course. You have to do at least half of them, right? If you don't do this, you will fail the course regardless of your grade. Of course, if you're not doing the activities, your grade's probably not very pretty anyway, right? Also, we talked a little bit earlier about the proctored exam. So students who are taking an online class have to verify their identities in 2 ways. One way you do that is just by logging in with your unique ID and password. The second way is going to be through the proctored exam. Now, exam 4 is the proctored exam, and so you have plenty of time to get this appointment set up, okay? It's not going to happen until the end of the semester. So what you'll need to do is to make an appointment, and I will later in the semester give you guys the contact information for the person you would talk to about setting up an appointment. But you would make an appointment to take the test at the library to verify your identity. Okay, this is very, very important, because if you don't verify your identity, you will receive an F in the class regardless of your grade. Okay, so make sure that you get this set up. Alright, so makeups. Makeup activities will not be given because, first of all, you get 2 drop grades for activities. Second of all, because the activities will be released on Monday morning and they will all be due on Friday at 5 p.m. So you will have several days to do them. It's not likely that I will give makeup exams because, once again, with the exams, they're going to be released on Monday and be available until the next Monday. So unless you were perhaps in the hospital or something like that for an entire week, then perhaps I would give you a makeup. But for the most part, makeups are not going to happen. If a makeup does happen, it will be an essay exam and has to be scheduled and completed within 1 week of the end of the original exam period. But like I said, remember, you do have a drop grade for exams, so that might be something to think about if you miss an exam. Alright, If you are not going to be able to take exam 4 at the library for some reason, let me know ASAP. And I set a deadline here of February 15th if you think that it's going to be impossible for you to get to the library to take the test. That way we can have enough time to make an arrangement to verify your identity, because we have to do this. Very important. Okay? Communication, please feel free to contact me. I love talking to students. Email is a great way to get in touch with me. Please keep in mind that I do have a very full schedule, so please allow me one full business day before you get on Rate My Professor and ruin my career. Right? Just kidding. But please give me a full business day before you get upset with me. I will reply as soon as possible. Okay? I will also make announcements during lecture videos or through email, so please check your email, watch the lecture videos, make sure that you're getting the announcements, okay? And if you want to talk to me about the test, I'm happy to meet with you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to help, okay? MUW has an academic dishonesty policy that says that students should uphold the highest standards of honesty in all phases of academic life. So it's very important not to be academically dishonest. There are a lot of very serious consequences that can come from that. So let's talk about what academic dishonesty would look like in an online class. So in my class, I expect that students will use their notes during the exam. And it's okay. I know that you're going to do that. However, it is not acceptable for students to take the test together, right? I want you guys to get together and study for the test parties, not get together and take the test parties. Right? So do not take the test. I am able to see how many questions you have in common with another student when you turned it in, all this other information. And so I will catch you if you do that, so please don't do that. I don't want to get you guys in trouble any more than you want to get in trouble, so please don't cheat. Also, during the final exam, which is a take-home essay, and during the activities, you have an opportunity to write, and so please do not plagiarize sources. There is no need for you to use any outside sources. The lecture videos are enough for you to be able to answer the questions and your own personal opinions. If you do use outside sources, please cite them appropriately. And if you are concerned about something that you're doing in my class or any other class, and you're not sure whether or not it is academic dishonesty, the best policy is to talk to the teacher before you turn it in, right? Because after you turn it in, the teacher's not going to be able to do a whole lot about it, okay? Also, accommodations. If there is a student who has a diagnosed disability, I would be happy to provide accommodations. What you need to do is talk with the assessment coordinator at the Student Success Center, and then they will give you the documentation you need to provide to me. Okay, so I'm happy to provide these accommodations. I just need some documentation of it. Also, MUW has a Title IX policy. And the purpose of the Title IX policy really is to protect students from sexual discrimination or from sexual violence. And so if you feel like you have been a victim of sexual discrimination or sexual violence, feel free to let me know. I would be happy to help you resolve the situation as much as I can, but also there's contact information here for the Title IX coordinator. It's very important to report that kind of thing. Okay? Also, I reserve the right to adjust the syllabus as needed throughout the semester. Okay? Okay, so you kind of see how things are going to be set up here. So for every week, you will have a lecture video on some topics, you have a reading, and you'll have an activity. Now, we do not have an activity due this week, so all you'll need to do is watch the lecture video, but most weeks will have an activity. So you see that each week begins on Monday, and the lecture video will be posted at least by Monday, and then also the activities are going to be released at 8 a.m. on Monday, and then they'll be due by Friday at 5 p.m. So you'll have several days to complete the activity. Now, what will happen with the exams is that the exams are going to be released on noon on a Monday, and will be available until noon on the next Monday. Now, sometimes I have students get confused. This is 12 p.m., not 12 a.m. So make sure that you're aware of that because that's gotten students confused in the past. So make sure we're paying attention to that. And so this will be the setup for the class. You'll see that every week will have a lecture video. Most weeks will have an activity. Every once in a while there'll be a week that does not have an activity, but the activities will always be due on Friday. Okay, so that's kind of the way that the class is going to be set up. Now you'll see that with exam 4, the exam here has to be taken as a proctored exam with the library. So it's going to be released at 8 a.m. on a Monday and be available until 5 p.m. on Friday. This is an exception to the 1-week rule because you have to take it during the regular hours at the library, right? And so this is the time. I don't expect the proctor to be there past 5 o'clock, and so I have a 5 o'clock cutoff here. So you'll take this exam during that time period as the proctored exam. And then the take-home essay will be due, a take-home final exam will be due here at 5 p.m. on May 13th. So let's take a look at the course. So everything that we just talked about is in the syllabus, is posted for you guys here as a Word document. But also, I know you guys can't see this on the screen, but over on the side, on the left-hand side, there's something that says Syllabus. If you click on that, you'll be able to see everything that we just talked about here. And then, as I said, the syllabus is available for you in a Microsoft Word document. So also on the left over here, there is a section called Modules. And Modules is where I'm going to be posting things for you. So when we click on Modules, you'll see Material for Exam 1. So here we have the syllabus for you guys in a Microsoft Word document and the syllabus quiz for extra credit if you want to complete that. And then you'll see the slides are posted here. So these are the outline slides for you guys to use making notes. And then also there are activities. So this is where you'll go to do your activities. There's also a study guide before every exam and the practice exam and the exam, right? So everything you need is here. And also, once I get the lecture videos posted, this is where you will access the lecture videos as well. Obviously, I don't have the first lecture video posted because I'm making it right now. But this is where I will post the first lecture video as well. And so that's how it's going to be set up. There's material for exams 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then also at the bottom, you'll see the final exam is here. Okay. So for each section, you will have slides to download and use to make notes. You will have activities to complete by their deadlines. You'll also have a study guide, practice exam, and the actual exam. Okay. So that's the way that it's going to be set up. So if you guys have any questions about the syllabus or about the way the course is set up, please feel free to let me know. Now we're going to jump into just a tiny bit of lecture this week. Alright, so as I said, we are going to start off by talking a little bit about research. And so we're going to have a very brief lecture today on this first week of class, and then next week we'll have a longer lecture video. So we are starting off by talking about research. I talk about research in pretty much every class that I teach. And typically, it's one of the first things that I talk about. So why do I talk about research so much? And why do I talk about it so early in the semester? Well, it's very important to understand where the knowledge that we have comes from, right? Even if we are not going to be researchers for a living, we are at some point going to consume research. We're going to watch television. We're going to see commercials and ads trying to sell us something. Or if we're going to be a psychologist, we're going to look into something and research something. We need to find out whether or not the research is accurate or whether or not it is quality research that we should be paying attention to. And so it's very important for us to understand research, especially in social psychology, because there are a lot of ethical issues when we're studying some of these social psychology phenomena that have been researched in ways in the past that are a little bit less than ethical, and you'll see later in the semester as we talk about these. But it's very important to have an understanding of how research is conducted. So, social psychologists, just like any other psychologist or scientist for that matter, are going to start off by developing theories and then hypotheses. So, a theory is just a big picture idea. And perhaps a theory related to social psychology would be all aggression is caused by the media, right? That's a theory. That is not necessarily accurate. Something being a theory doesn't mean that it's true or that it's not true. It just means that it's a big picture idea that would explain things and allow us to make predictions. So once we have this theory or this idea, we're going to have to come up with a hypothesis. Now, a hypothesis is a specific testable prediction that is consistent with our theory. So if we have the theory that aggression is caused by the media, then we could come up with several different hypotheses. If that theory is true, then we would expect to find that perhaps children who are exposed to the media more would be more aggressive, right? So we can measure how much time kids spend watching television, watching videos, playing video games. We could also say children who are exposed to certain kinds of media would be more aggressive than children who are not exposed to certain kinds of media. So those are hypotheses. A hypothesis is a specific testable prediction that is consistent with our theory. Now, if our hypothesis proves to be true, then we can say we have supported our theory. However, if our hypothesis comes back and the results show that our hypothesis was not accurate, then it could just be an anomaly, just something random that happened with our sample, or it could be that we need to change our theory, right? Maybe our theory needs to be adjusted. And so this is kind of that scientific method that I'm sure you guys have heard about a little bit. So we're going to talk about three kinds of research in this class. And today we're going to talk about observational research, and then next week we'll pick up with correlational and experimental research. But the different kinds of research, it's not that one is better than another, it's just that they have different goals or different purposes, right? So the goal of observational research is going to be to describe behavior. Correlational research is going to be used to predict. And experimental research is going to be used to answer causal questions, to tell us why. And so as long as we are being open and honest with everyone about the kind of research we're conducting, then that's okay. Sometimes you will read observational research or correlational research that is written in a way to try to make it sound like they can determine causation when they can't. So it's very important to be upfront and honest about the kind of research you conducted. So starting off with observational research, it says researchers observe people and systematically record measurements of impressions of their behavior, right? So maybe we do observational research without even realizing it, right? Maybe we people watch and we see how many students are walking around campus on their cell phones, for instance. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but anywhere you go, technology is everywhere. So you could just be people watching and observe people. Or maybe if you were interested in parenting, you could go to the park and you could record the ways that parents interact with their children, right? There are so many different ways to do observational research, and it gives us a lot of really good information. Observational research is often the first kind of research that we do. When we're starting to develop a hypothesis, develop a theory, we need to get information, and so we can do observational research and just observe, right? This is a great place to start. One kind of observational research that you might not think about is archival analysis, right? It says researchers examine accumulated documents or archives of some kind. So you can do observational research on magazines or diaries or anything written in newspapers, any kind of records, marriage records, standardized tests, all these things, archival analysis. You can do this information, and this is very important, and a lot of research does this, and it's very interesting. The drawback here, though, is that you might not always have the information that you need, and if you can't get it, you probably are not going to be able to get it, right? You can only use what you have. But archival analysis is an interesting kind of observational research. But one drawback to observational research is that obviously it does not determine causation. Experimental research is the only kind that does that. Also, thinking about observing individuals, sometimes people behave differently when they know that people are watching them, or they might behave differently in public than they would behave at home, and so you can't always be sure how accurate your results are, right? But observational research is very interesting, right? So it says behaviors are concretely defined before the observation begins, and this is very important. For example, if I'm a psychologist going into a classroom to observe a child to see if I think they have ADHD, I've got to have some kind of operational definition for hyperactivity, for example. Like, what does it mean for the child to be hyperactive? How much do they have to twitch? How long do they have to stay out of their desk, right? Because if we don't have a concrete definition, it's very difficult sometimes to label this is hyperactive behavior, this is age-appropriate behavior, right? Just as an example. And so it is important to have an operational definition, which is a very specific, agreed-upon definition before you start observing that will help you be consistent throughout your observations, right? It says observers systematically look for behaviors and record those behaviors. And you want to try to be subtle with this, right? Following people around with a notepad might kind of let them know what you're doing. So one thing you could do if you were going to observe in a classroom or on a playground, obviously first get permission from the principal, from the teachers to be there, and then also just kind of sit there for a couple of days and let the kids get used to you and forget that you're there. It's kind of like standing in the water, letting the fish get used to you before you try to catch them, right? So let them get used to you being there, because having somebody new in the situation might change their behavior, right? It's also important to make sure that our observations are accurate, and so it's best, if at all possible, to have two people judging a situation. It says the accuracy of observers is assessed through something called inter-judge reliability. Now, interjudge reliability is just having two people watch the same situation and mark their results, and then we're going to compare to see if they are similar, right? Now, they're obviously not going to be exactly the same, but hopefully pretty close, right? It says it's important to establish reliability, which just means that it is important for our results to be consistent. And so what we do is have two people, for example, watch the student with ADHD and make a note every time they think the student has been hyperactive. Now, if I have one person who says that happened twice during the hour and the other person says it happened 60 times during an hour, what does that tell me? It doesn't really tell me anything except that I didn't have a good enough definition beforehand, or obviously my raters were not trained to be able to do their job appropriately. But usually we'll have fairly similar explanations or answers here. When I was in between undergrad and grad school, I worked in a visual cognition lab, and I and another student there had to watch video with someone who was hooked up to eye tracking and record what they were looking at. And there were just so many videos we had to record. Took a picture like every half a second or something like that, and we had to watch all these videos. And our interjudge reliability was not great, I'm going to tell you, because probably it was so many that we should have taken more breaks in between, and that maybe would have made it go a little bit better. But it's important to have interjudge reliability because if we have observations, we need to know that our observations are accurate. If our observations are not accurate, then they haven't told us anything. In fact, it could be harmful. They could mislead us, right? So as I said, I've already alluded to limits of observational research. It says certain behaviors are difficult to observe, so sometimes people won't do a certain behavior in public, especially if they realize that you're watching them. Also, some behaviors occur rarely. They just don't happen very often. You might have a child who, for example, doesn't have temper tantrums very often, but when they do, they have very extreme temper tantrums, but you might not be able to see that, right? So if something that occurs rarely or only happens at home or when certain people are there, it may be difficult to get that observation. Archival analysis, as I said, if you're going to be looking at archives, you may not have access to all the information you need, but there's no way to get extra information if you need something else. And then obviously this does not allow us to do prediction, that's going to be correlational research, or explanation, that's going to be causation, so that'll be experimental research. But observational research really gives us a good place to start, gives us a lot of good ideas, and can help us develop our theories and hypotheses so we can move on to other kinds of research. Okay? So next week we are going to talk more about correlational and experimental research, and we will also have an activity next week. But that's actually where I'm going to leave you guys, so I hope you have had a great first week. Just contact me if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you guys next time.